Welcome back, IllinoisPrep.com. Team number 11, Morgan Park Mustangs, 8-1, and their only loss was a pretty good one to a 9-0 undefeated Simeon team. And we talked about Simeon, early in our playoff previews, and Morgan Park, similar team, a lot of speed all over the field, could cause problems to anybody if they don't cause problems for themselves.
Yeah, led by quarterback Deshaun Hurley last week when they played against Clark. 368 total yards, went 15 for 18, 268 passing yards, and got 2 touchdowns rushing. So, they're definitely a team that has a quarterback that can hurt you in many ways.
Yeah, and even though they won a lot of games convincingly, Week 2, they beat Geneva 30-17. Geneva's the number 4 seed on the other side of the bracket, so that was obviously a big win. And a win, you talked about Hubbard. Hubbard's 8-1. They're actually on the Morgan Park side of the bracket, although they wouldn't be able to meet until the semifinals. So you got a couple teams that they played that were tough. Vocational is another playoff team that they beat 46-0. And then there was the opener, which is what I thought. Those 2 openers at Soldier Field, when Morgan Park and Simeon both beat those private Catholic schools, that's when you were like, huh.
Yeah, I think...
even though Providence, 2-7, but we talked about how tough their schedule was, still a big win and a confidence builder for a program like Morgan Park.
Yeah, I think that week it turned a couple heads, because it definitely turned mine. I was not expecting that. Both of those teams coming out and doing it similar fashions. And, Morgan Park, very talented team, again, similar to Simeon. I think that, again, a lot of the teams that they're going to play aren't going to be used to the type of athleticism that Morgan Park displays in their games. But if Morgan Park loses or they're having a hard time with some of these teams, I think it's going to be more based on what they're doing with, penalties and, just stupid plays and stuff like that. If anybody beats Morgan Park, more likely it'll be Morgan Park.
Yeah, and we talked about these big point totals with Simeon. Morgan Park got 2 games in the 60s, 2 other games in the 40s, 2 other games in the 30s. I mean, again, like you said about Simeon, you're going to have to score points to beat Morgan Park. The only time that they were really held down offensively, a 16-14 slugfest against Providence, opening weekend at Soldier Field. Simeon held them to 16, but again, that was sort of Morgan Park hurt themselves too, because once they got down, they started turning the ball over, and it was kind of a snowball effect. And then against Hubbard, where they only scored 28, but again, Hubbard's 8-1.
Yeah, so that's not a poo-butt team, or that's not just any other team. That's a team out there that's obviously, because they're in the playoffs doing their thing on the same side of the bracket. So Morgan Park definitely has, like Simeon has a chance to, be one of the teams to be the first. What am I trying to say?
The first Chicago Public team to go in and win a football state title.
Win a state title. I think Morgan Park, in the class they're in, they have a better chance because Simeon's in 7A.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that's going to stop Morgan Park is that they're probably going to play Crystal Lake South in the quarters.
Yeah.
And certainly, I think if Morgan Park was on the other side of the bracket, I'd probably find a way to put them in the state championship game.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can play mistake-free football to the point that they'd be able to upset a Crystal Lake South, especially if they have to go to Crystal Lake South.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not like Morgan Park is making deep runs in the playoffs every year.
No.
So it's going to be a huge thing for them. That first round, they get to play at home, probably Gately, where they play the majority of their football games, so there'll be a comfort level there against Fenton. I think they'll beat Fenton, and I think they'll beat Prairie Ridge, who I've got beaten Fenwick, to make it to that quarterfinals. And even if they lose to Crystal Lake South, that'll still be a heck of a year for Morgan Park program.
It will be, but if they can get past that Crystal Lake South, I think that's going to be. I think that will be their state championship from the standpoint, because after that, I really think that they can beat every other team on the table.
I mean, it's really, it'd be 2 straight probably games that would be tougher than a state title game. Crystal Lake South, and then the defending state champs, Cary Grove, possibly.
Yeah.
In the semifinals. And again, the success breeds success. They obviously have the confidence that they can go in, and because of how lopsided that Simeon game was, they can say, you know what, that was a fluke. We didn't play our A game. Simeon's a good team. They took advantage. If we played them again, we'd definitely give them a better run. And like we talked about, you're going to have to score points. Hurley's got some nice targets. Desmond Earls, Javon Bright, these guys have speed. If you let them get the ball in space, I mean, teams that play Morgan Park, you better wrap up. Don't let them break a tackle on you, because
they will get away.
Yeah, they'll go all the way to the end zone, and they'll have you down 14, 21, 2-3 touchdowns in a hurry. And I think it'll be interesting the first time in the playoffs that Morgan Park gets punched in the mouth, since they, I'm glad they had that Hubbard game.
Yeah.
That shows that they can get into a dogfight, and obviously Providence too. But since that Providence game, they'd pretty much been on cruise control. So the Hubbard game, I think, is a real big thing for Morgan Park, and that'll give them the confidence that they can get into a close game, and they can punch, counter punch, and come out with a victory against good teams.
Yeah, well, Morgan Park, this is where they want to be from the playoff standpoint. It's really in their hands from this point. They can have a really good secondary season. It's really going to be if they can, continue what they're doing, if they can stay disciplined, if they can't, if they stay in the game mentally. If you get down by 2 scores, don't quit.
Right.
Stuff like that, because stuff like that gets teams, and then they quit, and then the game's over.
Right.
So if they can keep those things, they can stay on top of it. I think they're gonna have fun, which is the most important thing. I think they're gonna have fun out there.
Yeah, and that's something that Coach Spurlock, like you said, if you get down 14. He should be able to motivate him by saying, if you guys shut it down, that's what everyone thinks you're going to do, because you haven't been here before, so prove them wrong. Yeah. And, most teenagers with the testosterone running, yeah, that's right, Coach, we're going to go get them.
But this is the thing, though, with the type of offense they have, I mean,
who's going to stop them enough to get them down 14?
No, not even that. But let's say they are down by 14.
Oh, you just mean like
they could make that on 2 plays.
Right.
They're very athletic, very talented. So
just go get us 1 stop and we'll put up 14.
Yeah, just go put it up in the air and go get it. It's just like there's not too many teams that should be able to get them down, by 50. So they should really be in every game. With their offensive power, they should really be able to put teams away themselves.
Yeah, and certainly they can say, we're not going to face anybody more talented and speedier than Simeon.
Yeah.
So we've seen that. So we play at a faster level than everyone else. So let's go out and get it done. Certainly, Morgan Park, one of the more interesting teams in all of the playoffs, and definitely a threat to make a deep run in 6A. Next time, we'll be doing playoff preview, team number 12. And come back for it here on IllinoisPrep.com.